Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. It is Wednesday, the 6th of July, and boy, have we got some news to get through today. There'll be a number of videos dropping throughout the day, and of course, tonight, the return of the midweek fix with myself, Lewis JT, and Max live at 8 o'clock, so make sure you join us for that as well. Before we get into today's video, please smash a like, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course, hit that notification bell. But we're going to start today's trio, or maybe quad of videos, I'm not quite sure just yet, with chat about Raphinha. It's decision time. It is decision time for Raphinha. This has been rumbling on and on and on, and it's becoming frustrating for myself, for you, for Leeds, for Victor, for Raphinha, for Deco, for Barca, for everybody concerned. Arsenal, Chelsea, whoever you like, you know. Look, Barcelona are no closer to agreement with Leeds United for Raphinha. They're director of football or whatever position he holds, the president, Juan Laporta, says, look, we don't have a deadline. We don't have a deadline to complete the deal. Leeds have asked Barca to present their latest offer by Thursday, though. So there's mixed reports there. Maybe Leeds United have in the back of their mind that, of course, we're due to fly out to the Gold Coast, to Australia, in 4 days. So is Raphinha coming or is he staying? I believe he's due to report back to training soon. But, you know, is he going to be getting on that flight to Australia? I don't think so, but there has been some developments. I mean, him himself just yesterday put Leeds United back in his bio. There's even chat that he potentially could stay at Leeds United. Could we see a side potentially line up 4-2-3-1 with Sinistera on one wing and Raphinha on the other? That's enough to whet the appetite. That does excite me. Of course, that might mean another outgoing, and we will talk about that very, very soon. But of course, Leeds United have brought in Luis Sinistera. I said to you yesterday that deal's done. It will be signed, sealed, delivered. Stevie Wonder tactics very, very soon. He's been brought in to replace Raphinha. That's why Leeds United want his future resolved. And of course, we could envisage a situation where Raphinha still stays at the club. What that means is we probably won't get a striker, because any move for Raphinha is going to finance the striker. Phil here has said as much. Of course, we've had bids for Charles de Ketelaere. We'll have a video on him dropping very soon as well. He is the one we want. We are clearly after a centre forward, but that money's been put on hold. That money's been put, you know, is frozen in a sense, waiting for the sale of Raphinha. If Raphinha doesn't go through, I don't envisage a situation where Leeds United buy a striker. We might not even have to, if we're going to play with the 4-2-3-1, Bamford up top, Gelhardt behind him, Rodrigo behind him, in the pecking order, Sam Greenwood even. I know that's not ideal, but, you know, Leeds United have to work with what they've got. And if we can't sell Raphinha for 60 million, then that might mean a striker doesn't come in. Let me know in your comments what you feel about that. We know that Chelsea are ready to pay up. You know, they're ready to pay an upfront fee, all in one go, of £60 million for the Brazilian winger. Although it's Chelsea, I just want the deal to be done so that we can start to improve our squad and make moves on the targets we want, or target we want. You know, that includes add-ons as well. Now, them add-ons, I believe, are worth more than 5 million. So you're looking at 65 million all in for Raphinha. We've said to Stamford Bridge to, you know, Todd Bowley, yeah, we accept that bid, you know. But Raphinha is resisting Chelsea. He doesn't want the move. And there's sources saying that he'd rather stay at Leeds United than move to Chelsea. That shows how wedded he is to the idea of going to Barcelona. It's his dream club. There's been chat about Real Madrid, etc., but it was never that. You know, it was always Barcelona because Ronaldinho, Deco, him, you know, his heroes, etc., you know. So he's resisting Chelsea's approaches in the hope of that move to Barcelona. That's his preferred destination. Will they stump up the cash? Don't believe so. You know, they've failed to meet Leeds United's valuation up to this point. They are finding Leeds United unreceptive to offers of payments in installments, which I absolutely love. You know, you could argue maybe we got done a little bit on the Calvin deal, but, you know, all things considered, he wanted the move, Pep wanted the move. There was only one club really in for him. I think we did okay out of it. I know not a lot of people agree, but I think we did okay if you consider how much players in his position go for notoriously across you know, across the league. It's in the middle somewhere, you know, so I think we haven't done too bad. But I like our steadfast approach to the Barcelona haggling. You know, they're saying, listen, if you want to pay, we've got a club there who's paid 60 million or are about to. You need to meet that. Otherwise, on your bike. You know, and we see some more stories coming out today, because obviously we know Barcelona aren't just in for Raphinha, which is a madness considering their financial situation. They want Bernardo Silva by all accounts. They want Jules Koundé. They want Robert Lewandowski. They've got the De Jong situation where they're saying we want to keep him. Dembele on a new contract, etc. The list goes on. They're still making signings now. Kessie, Christensen, etc. But Bayern Munich have actually come out and said to Barcelona, if you want to pay for Lewandowski, we are not taking installments. And I'll tell you for why. Because they say they don't believe Barcelona will exist in 1 or 2 years' time. Obviously, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I love that they've gone out with that approach and put that out there in the media to say, listen, we ain't doing no installments with Barcelona, because guess what? They probably won't be here in 1 or 2 years' time. Absolutely love that approach. I can imagine the conversation between Leeds and Bayern when they were having that deal for Marc Roca. They were having a little bit of a laugh at Barcelona's expense, and you love to see it, don't you? You know, we've got situations where Leeds United are gazumping AC Milan for a player, and Barcelona can't meet our demands. It's like, it's an ulterior like universe we've entered. And look, Bayern Munich want 52 million, 60 million euros, 52 million for Lewandowski. He's got a year left on his deal. I don't see them paying that much, but I like that they've gone in with that approach. So how can they fork out that amount for Lewandowski? 60 million for Raphinha. Bernardo Silva's not going to come cheap, and neither's Jules Koundé. Koundé is wanted by a number of clubs, Chelsea being one of them. So I just don't envisage a situation where they can afford to pay for him. I always felt by hook or by crook they would get that deal done. But then I was reminded by the fact that Laporta was saying exactly the same things when it concerned Leo Messi. Leo Messi doesn't play for Barcelona anymore. I don't think any of us ever believed that he would leave Barcelona, and he's currently playing at PSG. Yet Laporta told us he was never going to leave Barca. So it's got vibes of that, you know. So all this being out in the press, giving it the big licks, can he actually make the deal happen? I'm not too sure. And like I say, reports say he'd rather stay at Leeds than join Chelsea, which I love, by the way. But I think we need him to move on in order to improve the squad. But then again, like I said, could you envisage a situation where you have a 4-2-3-1 with Raphinha and Sinisterra on either wing, supplying Bamford if he can stay fit? And if not, you've got Gelhardt to step up, you know? Would you be happy with that? Or do you want to move Raphinha on if it only means bringing in a striker? And our first option, which you'll find out in a video a little bit later on, is saying that he doesn't want to come in. So, you know, anything underneath that might be a lesser player than what Raphinha can give us, you know. So it's interesting. And, of course, he put Leeds United back in his bio, of course. We can't read too much into social media. We've seen with RDP, Matheus Cunha, and more recently, Mo Kamara, that, doing your, putting out your peacock feathers on social media doesn't mean that, a deal's done or even close. So we might see a situation where Raphinha stays at Leeds United. Now, what does that mean in terms of a striker? Well, another option is, of course, moving another player on, bringing in money, so then you can go finance that striker and have Raphinha, Sinisterra, and maybe another striker. And that player could be Jack Harrison. Now, I brought a video to you a couple of weeks back where Harrison to Newcastle looked like a viable option and it got left out. But the Athletic are reporting now that he is a genuine option for Newcastle. Now, of course, at the top of Newcastle's list is Moussa Diaby, 22-year-old right winger, coveted by a host of clubs across Europe's top 5 leagues. Now, Newcastle do need to improve their front line. They're looking for a young striker and a winger to improve that. Now, Alan St-Maximin and Wilson will likely be, their first choice across the front three. But Miguel Almiron's starting position is under threat. You can see they want to take, the club to the next level. He only got 1 goal last season and had no assists. So you can see why they want to improve that area of the pitch. And Diaby scored 13 goals and provided 12 assists for Leverkusen last season. Great numbers by him, and exactly why clubs across Europe want him, including PSG. You could argue he'd probably favour that move, being a French international. Now, apparently they're quoting upwards of £60 million, which is way more than Newcastle are willing to pay. So they're looking at other options. Now, they considered Raphinha. As we know, people laughed at that, but that is something they considered. But Newcastle know he desires Champions League football. So we know with Raphinha, as we've just discussed, it doesn't matter about the money. It's all about Barcelona and going to his dream club. Now, There was interest in Brennan Johnson, but Nottingham Forest have been promoted, of course, and Noah Lang has been watched. And we know Noah Lang is coveted again by a host of clubs across Europe. But again, his character maybe scuppers any sort of move for me. And it turns out that their most realistic target at this moment in time is Jack Harrison. Now, we know he had a relegation release clause like Raphinha did, like Calvin did, and Newcastle were ready to activate that. Right, that this is coming from a well-respected journalist in the Newcastle ether on The Athletic, saying that, you know, had Leeds gone down, Jack Harrison would go to Newcastle. But the only thing stopping any sort of move now or putting any blocks in place is, of course, Leeds United's reluctance to lose Raphinha, Calvin and Jack Harrison in the same window. Of course, Jack Harrison was our second top scorer last season behind Raphinha. And he is undervalued a little bit, I think, by the Leeds United fans because he just goes about his business and he's not flashy. But if Raphinha doesn't move, and as we've said, it's a viable option, he stays, then will Leeds United move Jack Harrison on in order to fund the striker? I could see that being a viable option. Now apparently Newcastle aren't willing to come anywhere close to Leeds United's asking price at this moment in time. Remember, we only paid like £11 million for him. I suspect Leeds United would want around about 30 million for him. I mean, Transfermarkt has his value set at around about 60 million, which is way short of what Leeds United would want. And of course, if Newcastle want to pay for someone that, we could argue to them we don't want to sell, then they will get close to a figure for Jack Harrison, I believe. And Newcastle believe that a compromise could be reached. If Leeds want 30 million, could you be looking at saying 20 to 25 million for Jack Harrison, making an instant increase in what we paid for him just last season? Look, Newcastle don't feel under pressure to act, rashly, and they will survey the market. And I think Newcastle are going about the business the right way for me personally, especially when you consider how much money they've gone. They're not doing like a City when they just bought everyone and every man and his dog that had played decent in the Premier League, Adebayor, Bellamy, Robinho, etc. They're doing it the right way for me. I think their acquisitions have been decent, and Jack Harrison would improve them. If you just look at his outputs compared to Miguel Almiron, you can see why they could get him. And if they're not willing to pay for a Diaby, their other options have gone elsewhere or are not willing to move, Jack Harrison seems like a viable option. And as a Leeds United fan, I do love him. I wouldn't want to see Jack Harrison go if Raphinha does go. But if Raphinha stays and we have a front three and the wings consist of Sinisterra and Raphinha, that excites me. I can't lie. And Raphinha might stay and say, look, I'll go in January or whatever. At that point, we'd have to, then go out and buy someone. Would his value go up, etc.? But if he stays and Sinisterra signs, which we believe will happen very, very soon, Jack Harrison's minutes could, be up for grabs in a sense, and Newcastle may be able to offer him an attractive proposition with a club on the up. And if they're willing to pay 25 to 30 million pounds, then I believe Leeds United will cash in on Jack Harrison, having made an instant increase in what they paid for him. I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comments. I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have. Does Raphinha stay? Does he get that move to Barca? If he doesn't, does he play on the right of a front three? And of course, does Jack Harrison move to Newcastle? Could that happen? It's one to keep our eyes on. It's going to rumble on. It's going to be an exciting window, both in and outgoings. So yeah, look, keep it locked at the Just Joe Football Show. I hope you enjoyed this chat. There'll be another video dropping very, very soon. So keep it locked, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace out. Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.